Good morning, student. Now we'll proceed with the same. How now in this video, I will let you know how the food is digested in our body. The process of digesting our food. So in one of our previous lesson, we learned how the food get digested inside our body, how the food acted upon various enzymes in our mouth, in our stomach and in our intestine, and just convert into a simple form. So during that process also, if you observe closely, you will see that the complex constituents of food, for example, the carbohydrates, the proteins, the fats, all these are like complex in their structure. All these are broken down into a simpler substances, and how they broken down with the help of enzymes. Okay. For example, carbohydrate are broken down into simple sugars. Proteins are broken down into a simplest form, that is amino acids. Fats are broken down into a fatty acid, and so on. So that means there is a change in the composition. The food which is present in the form of complex substances is broken down into a simple forms. Since there is a change in the chemical composition, so again this is also a chemical change, because a change is taking place. Initially the food was in complex form. Again, think of a curdling of milk. I'm sure you know what is curd. Have you ever prepared curd? Now all you need for this is a milk and a little bit of curd. Maybe a tablespoon, not even a tablespoon, even less than that. And a little bit of curd to be used to convert it into a curd. Okay. You can try preparing curd in your home also. Just take a bowl, add some milk into it, pour some milk into it, and take a little bit of curd, just a little bit of curd into this bowl. Mix it properly and leave it for overnight. And what do you see? That the milk is converted into a curd. Okay. The little bit of curd act as a starter. Okay. And it turned the whole milk into a curd. And how this happened? So this actually happened due to the presence of a bacteria called lactobacillus bacteria. Okay. So the bacteria lactobacillus and lactobacillus bacteria present in curd. So this small amount of curd which we actually added in a bowl contain this bacteria. And what do these bacteria do? These bacteria causes the protein in the milk to coagulate. So the protein which are present in the milk, they start coagulating. Okay, they start coagulating, and as a result you see the structure of a milk. It is fluid. Okay, but if you see the curd, it is more thicker than a curd. That happens due to the coagulation of a milk protein. And who causes the coagulation of milk protein? Lactobacillus, which is present in the curd sample. Okay, as a result, the formation of coagulation, as a result of lactic acid is also produced due to the action of these bacteria. So due to the curdling of milk, all this happened because of the lactobacillus bacteria, and lactic acid also produced. Because of the formation of lactic acid, the curd is sour in taste. Okay, so the curd is sour because of the presence of lactic acid. So what do you learn in that process? That the conversion of milk into a curd, a lot of chemical reaction take place, due to which a new chemical substances is being formed. Lactic acid is formed, a protein structure is formed. There is a lot of change in terms of chemical composition. Therefore, curdling of milk is also a chemical change. Okay, now let's look at the next example, like the burning of paper. This is again a very common example which we come across in our day-to-day life, and we will see how again this change how this is a chemical change. Okay, so the physical appearance of the paper is definitely changed because a new substance, it is now going to be burned, and the paper is now changed into an ashes. Okay, their chemical composition are totally different. Okay, so it is also an example of chemical change. Okay, and you just cannot convert the ashes back to the paper, so this is irreversible change, and the burning of paper is a chemical change. Now if you tried compare it into the tearing the paper into pieces, when you're trying to tear the paper into different pieces, that is physical change, because in that case change is only with respect to its size and shape of the paper, but the chemical composition is still the same. Okay, so that is a physical change, and in this case the chemical composition is also changed, so it is a chemical change. Burning of wood. So again, this is also wood is burned. What happens in presence of oxygen? It gets converted into a lot of different gases like carbon dioxide. Lot of heat is released, water vapor, ash. So these are the products. So in here also the chemical composition of wood is changes. So during this process also heat is produced, light is produced, and this happen in the presence of oxygen. So wood burns in presence of oxygen. A lot of other gases also produce, for example carbon dioxide also produce, and we also have some amount of ashes. So basically a lot of products is formed, and the process is also irreversible, so this is a chemical change. Let's look at another interesting example. We will see, if you use a straw, put some lime water into it. So what is lime water? Lime water is nothing but calcium hydroxide. And using that straw, if you blow some air into the glass containing calcium oxide, so what you are blowing out, that is nothing but carbon dioxide, because we breathe out carbon dioxide. So if you breathe out carbon dioxide with a straw, then it turns the lime water milky. So initially it was watery and now it has become milky. So this is also happened because of the change in the composition. So what is this? This is basically a lime water. Lime water is nothing, a solution of CaO with water, CaO powder mixed with water. Okay, so this is a lime water. So this calcium hydroxide, when this change happen, when we breathe out with a straw, so we are actually adding carbon dioxide to this solution, and when we add carbon dioxide, when it react with calcium hydroxide, it react with CO2, then it form CaCO3 plus H2O. So because of the formation of CaCO3, it turns the lime water milky. Okay, so it is something the constituent of marbles also. So again, what is happening? If we look at the liquid in the liquid inside the glass, a lot of chemical reaction happen in here. Okay. Again, what is happening? If you look at the liquid, a lot of chemical changes is happening. A calcium hydroxide changes into calcium carbonate. So this is a chemical change. But somebody might see that we heard that during physical change, the appearances or the color changes. So in this case, the color is changing from lime water to milky. So it should be a physical change, but whether it is a physical change or a chemical change, that is determining by whether the chemical composition is changed or not. So in this case, the chemical composition is also changing, and therefore it cannot be a physical change. It is a chemical change. Okay. Let's look another interesting example. Have you ever seen a burning magnesium ribbon? So magnesium ribbon, it's like a rope kind of a thing which is silvery white in color, and it is not very soft like ribbons. Okay, it's like moderately hard as compared to the ribbons. And most beautiful thing about the magnesium ribbon is that it burns with a brilliant white flames. Okay, that is why magnesium ribbon is quite popular. Beautiful flames come out. What happens when actually magnesium ribbon is burned? When you burn the ribbon, you see a white beautiful flame. So what actually happening inside? So this magnesium ribbon burn in presence of oxygen. It's in the presence of oxygen. That is why it is called combustion. So magnesium burns in the presence of oxygen to form magnesium oxide, and this magnesium oxide is the ash which left behind after all the ribbon is burned. Okay, you are left behind with the ashes. So these ashes is nothing but magnesium oxide. Now just to experiment the thing, in the previous lesson we learned about the acidic and basic nature of lot of substances. So just to experiment with more, take some of these ashes and mix it with water. So what do you get? You get a solution, and just try to perform the litmus test with it. So but literally what you have then, so basically what you have, the solution, magnesium oxide. Okay, the ash, when you just put these ash, mix it with water, and when you just check it with litmus paper, you get a solution. Now just try to perform the litmus test with this solution. So this solution, if you have in this bowl, so this solution is magnesium oxide, the ash plus some water, and when you put a red litmus paper, it turns blue, which says that this solution is actually basic in nature. So that means what is actually happening here? The magnesium, when it combined with water, it produces a magnesium hydroxide, and it is a base. Okay, and that is why it turns red litmus to blue. So you see, in each of these things, whether magnesium combined with oxygen or with water, a lot of chemical reaction take place in a substances. Okay, so these are the example of chemical change. Now let us know some very important and the most common example. Okay, so that is the rusting of iron. Rusting of iron is nothing, the presence of air, the iron, the reddish brown layer over the surface of the iron we see is called rusting. Okay, it also happens with other metal like copper, the greenish layer we see on the surface of copper metal. Okay, so these rusting take place in the presence of air and water, and it happens with iron when it exposed to air and water. Okay. So moisture is nothing H2O and air is O2. So it will acquire a coating of brown flaky substance called rust when the iron exposed to air and water both. So basically when you look at it, from the chemical reaction point of view, you will see that rust is nothing but an iron oxide. Because when iron combines with water and air, it forms a new compound that is iron oxide, Fe2O3. It is a compound of iron oxide and this is called rust. Okay. Now we're going to perform a very simple experiment to show that the rust is formed only in the presence of oxygen and water. These are 3 test tubes. It cannot happen only in the presence of only water and only air. Both of them are required. Okay, so in all the 3 test tube, in the first scenario, you see there is the iron nail. This is a nail. It is also exposed to air and water both. So in this case, what happens? Rusting take place. This iron turn into a little bit reddish color. In the second case, you see that iron nail is just dipped into the water. That means this iron nail, no air being available to this nail. So no rusting take place. And in third scenario, instead of water, some calcium chloride is present. So in this case, due to the absence of air and water, there is nothing, no air and water is present in this test tube. Beside of this, a calcium chloride is present. So no air and water is present here, only the calcium chloride is present, and that is why no rusting takes place. Here also no rusting takes place because only water is present, the iron is not exposed to air. And in this case, this nail is become reddish in color because of the formation of rust, and it is because both air and water is present in this test tube. Okay. So for the process of rusting, both air and water is required. Okay, not only one. Now we will see some disadvantages of rusting. So it has a lot of disadvantages. Okay, because metal become brittle and weak. Metal loses its strength. It tends to break very or spoil to some extent. Okay. So it also destroys the appearance. Normally, if it is without rusting, it has its own glaze and shine. Okay, but if rust will happen, it destroy its appearance also. Okay. Now it also favors the growth of bacteria and viruses also. Okay. So brittle, it make brittle and weak. It's make the metal brittle and weak. It also destroy the appearance and shine of the iron. Okay. If it is without rusting, there is a glaze and shine, but because of rusting, it destroys its appearance, and the favors the growth of bacteria and viruses. You would have seen that iron object, the microorganisms will grow. In fact, that is, you would have seen that if people get hurt by iron object, especially the rusted iron object, in that case, they often given the injection called tetanus injection, because this tetanus virus is often grows in rusted iron objects. So the chances of your body being infected by these kinds of virus become more. Okay, so it is something which is not desirable. Okay, so the rusted areas favor the growth of bacteria and virus, and these might harm us in a number of ways. Okay.